But yeah, going back to debate recap and analysis. Once again, this is not a debate necessarily, but a disagreement between two people that have mutual respect and love for one another. I still, of course, love Cenk. He is my uncle. I think that he's done a lot of good things in the progressive sphere. He's put his entire life, he's dedicated his entire life to this cause. So, you know, it sucks to see deviations away from the norm and what would be beneficial, I guess. I don't know. X remove headlines and it's now only images. I know, it's so fucking stupid. It's so profoundly idiotic and only expected from the dumbest man who happens to be the most successful capitalist, right? The wealthiest guy. Your dad explaining he doesn't need the tip. That's one funny meme, I guess. All right, who do you think is more dangerous, Eggman or Bowser? Me, I'm more dangerous. This is
so when a guy commits 3 crimes in a row, I'm not worried about deterrence. I'm worried about getting him the fuck off the street.
It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society.
So he stops punching defenseless women in the face while they're trying to get to work.
The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons.
Okay? So I'm going to take his ass off the street. You've committed enough goddamn crimes when we're going to put you away.
They must be taken off the street.
And if you want to cry about it, well, sad day for you.
I'm shocked.
You shouldn't have punched a poor lady in the subway 3 freaking different times.
I'm shocked.
If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. Again, it does not mean because we created them that we somehow forgive them or do not take them out of society to protect my family and yours from them.
We got a guy in the neighborhood. He's carrying around this metal pipe, and he's sharpened the edge, and it looks like a frickin' spear. There, by the way, there was another lady with a machete, and these are real stories. Okay, so at some point, she finally grabbed a mom and a kid.
But they are in jail, away from my mother, your husband, our families.
If you show this to him, will it end up just making him feel validated? No, I don't think he'll. He just doesn't. Yeah, I don't think he cares about that kind of thing. Like, honestly, he's just like, it's hard. It's hard not to get swept up in a frenzy when you're already in that mindset. It's just really difficult for people to fucking turn around and go, nah. I think it's difficult. I think it's very difficult. I don't know, but I think we should do a larger, more comprehensive analysis at some point about crime in general so that people understand the positions a little bit better. This is something that I should probably do because there are moments that I will recognize if I'm being hypercritical of myself. There are moments where I think like I need more I need better access to data. Like, obviously, I cover things as they come and go, and I look into stuff that interests me. But if there's like a broader conversation to be had, I do it twice a week. But it's oftentimes on like retail, organized retail theft, things of that nature, and how greatly overblown it is. Hassan, they don't believe in data. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't think that it doesn't matter if people that you're talking to don't believe. It doesn't matter if people that you're talking to don't believe the data. There are always going to be people that hear what you have to say and can be convinced when they actually see the data. It's just very hard to go back. It's very hard to tackle anecdotes with data because, you know, ultimately anecdotes are very impassioned, right? This is how it goes. Yeah, but, you know, maybe I should do a scripted video on the matter and just like go through piece by piece about like all the most common crime is out of control talking points and walk them through, especially because one of the aspects that I covered, okay? One of the aspects that I covered that I think is important to understand is that like my position on policing is not all that complicated. I've talked about it quite a bit. I am not an abolitionist, right? I don't think that I think that there is a necessity for some form of like some organism, some unit, whether it's democratically assigned or not. Some kind of unit has to exist to create the presence of law and order, to maintain some kind of peace, I guess, and also more importantly than that, even to solve crimes, because crimes are going to happen. There are always going to be certain types of crimes that happen, even with a lot of the material realities being solved. If all crime was born out of simply material conditions, even though they are directly linked back to said conditions, ultimately, it's like there are still rich people doing crimes. You know what I mean? Like, it's not as simple, obviously. However, yes, I do believe that there are certain healthcare problems, for example, that we have yet to solve, that medicine has no answer for, in the form of antisocial personality disorder and things that different kinds of crimes that might be born out of that. Obviously, there is no solution for that at this moment. So, there has to be some level of enforcement and investigations, right? Even though the current police force is really bad on that. But that's why this, in simple terms, what I always say is, I think a more effective way to propagandize this position is make the police do fucking work, do your fucking jobs, right? That in and of itself is already a radical proposition for a group of individuals whose job has given them so many assurances, so many freedoms, including the freedom to rob you of your freedom, and also the freedom to rob you of your life, as a matter of fact. So there are plenty of issues to solve on that front. This field of thought on antisocial behavior is rooted in the American eugenics movement. Okay. Well, it does not matter what you say about that, because if there is a way to solve certain types of crimes, like pedophiles, for example, okay, who act out on their desires to fuck children, there is no immediate medical solution to that problem. Serial killers and things of that nature. Obviously, a lot of it is still born out of like a dysfunctional home, not having access to medical care early on, and things of that nature. But you're fucking nuts if you think that there should be no enforcement. Like, come on. Anyway, rehabilitative justice is a must. It's something that I believe in. It's something that is demonstrably more successful in lowering recidivism. And the United States of America has shown that more draconian methods of crime prevention, as the draconian methods are not an adequate deterrence measure, and the criminal justice system, especially the prison system, is awful at lowering recidivism. It's just terrible. So that's it. Matt Owens, friend of the show and the showrunner for One Piece, has said Dr. Correa is being written with Oscar winner Jamie Lee Curtis in mind. Curtis is a big fan of the franchise and has been the focus of a massive fan casting campaign. That's fire. The shrink at the supermarket I work at is predominantly product loss and waste. My department's seafood is the highest percentage of shrink this quarter. The lowest was beer and wine. Beer and wine is the most susceptible to theft, so even if store status don't break up shrink. Yeah, I mean, that part of the conversation is one that every single person immediately wants to move away from, because it's not good for if you want to present a problem as though like all bedlam is occurring. It's not good to actually look at the data and parse through it. Much better to just simply say, no, look, $112 billion of merchandise have been stolen by organized retail theft. Which, of course, even if that was entirely true, okay, even if like shrink had gone up and that shrink was entirely comprised of external theft, including organized retail theft, and not simply like you stealing a Snickers bar, and then, a million people that do retail doing that exact same thing at the self-checkout line. Even if that was the case, that would imply a severe structural issue that requires systemic solutions, which it does. So, We will be covering the stats on the stores that have closed down as well. Obviously, Judd Legume did some more in-depth analysis on it, looking at the areas of need or areas where stores are closing down and why they are not necessarily closing down due to crime. Of course, a major reason for why, as I've noted time and time again, is because brick and mortar retail is incredibly expensive. Commercial real estate is an incredibly expensive endeavor, just like housing is an incredibly expensive market that is unaffordable, increasingly unaffordable, especially when you're super careful about your profit margins. There is also an infinite amount of retail stores. They're just oversaturated. So clearly, that is definitely an issue as well. Also, in the executive's best interest to blame external factors rather than themselves for store closures. Yes. One of the least productive debates I've seen, and I sat through all of it. I think that it was productive in the sense that if you have heard these talking points before, which I'm sure you have, because people that are really hyper focused on crime and saying that crime is like completely out of control and we need more stringent protocols in place. Crime is out of control due to a lack of enforcement, things of that nature. If that is your opinion, then parsing through that data, especially when it comes to common talking points, is certainly a productive thing to do, right? So that is something that I think is necessary for everyone to understand. So I think that there is an enforcement problem in America for sure, but that enforcement problem is not born out of woke DAs or anything like that. That enforcement problem is born out of a group of individuals that operate like a paramilitary organization that is completely unaccountable and don't really feel the need to do anything, as a matter of fact. They don't do their jobs. They get paid a lot, and they get paid even if they don't do their jobs. And some would correctly point out and say, well, their job is to protect capital. Well, it's gotten to a point where they're not even doing that as much, okay? Sorry. If your job is to protect capital and you see fucking a major... The reason why a lot of capitalists get mad at the situation that's unfolding is not because cops aren't beating the shit out of homeless people hard enough. They're getting mad at the situation because cops aren't even stopping people from going into a storefront, breaking the windows, and stealing shit, okay? They're extra lazy. They're much lazier than before. That in and of itself is unironically cops not even doing the one job that they're supposed to do, protect and serve the interests of capital. This is part of the reason why so many people see that as societal collapse. But of course, because we're so trained to never criticize the police force, or at least not us, but most people are not trained to think like maybe cops are at fault here. They never think about it from that perspective, so immediately they go, no, it's everything else that's going on. It must be the DAs that are like punishing these cops. But when you look at the actual situation unfolding and you see so many police officers fucking resigning, for example, from the force, and no one actually wanting to join the force and having a major recruitment problem in policing in the United States of America, despite the fact that it's one of the cushiest jobs you could ever fucking get, you come to the conclusion that, yes, this issue is occurring almost entirely due to the fact that police are really, really bad at doing their fucking jobs, even not the theoretical job of protecting and serving the interests of the population. They're never going to fucking do that, obviously. They're not there to do that. But even protecting and serving the interests of capital. And that has created a lot of negative reaction to policing in general. $38K a year is good pay. Brother, if you think that police salaries stay at $38,000 a year like some fucking dispatcher number that you just pulled out of your asshole, I got much to tell you, okay? Cops make a shit ton on overtime pay. Do you understand? In comparison to the rest of the population, especially public sector employees, for example, police make a shit ton more. That is insane. We have police officers hired at my bowling alley, worked for security, and they got paid $35 an hour to stand in front of the front desk and eat food for free when all the other employees have to pay for food. Yeah, there's also the extra jobs that they do for security as well from people that want to get not only just like police protection, like not only just get like actual protection, but also protection of a different sort. Like you got real cops here, right? Because they have so much fucking power. Greater Boston area police doubled their base pay with overtime detail work. There you go. Captain Richard McCusker of the Quincy Police Department made $263,000. The other top 9 earners on Quincy's payroll, members of the police force, all made more than $225,000. Mayor Thomas Koch made $160,000. The reason why they get to make that kind of money is because they are the cops. They are supposed to be the last line of defense. The fuck? This guy made $700,000? What the fuck? I don't understand what's going on here. What? Who the fuck are these people? Yeah, look at regular pay plus overtime, right? I don't know what's going on at the top of this list. All I know is the top of the hour ad break, and these guys can pay for it. These guys can not only pay for it, but also pay for everyone else's top of the hour ad break avoidance fee, which is $5 a month, or a free one in the form of a Twitch Prime. By connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, you get one free Prime subscription a month. Doesn't end there, though. You can also get gifted a sub by a cop, potentially. So, here's the 3-minute ad break now. Yeah, officer starting salary in NYPD is $58,000, but it doesn't add the additional benefits to it. Salary after 5.5 years is guaranteed to be $122,000. Salaries above do not include overtime or night differential, for the record. This is just the base pay for the starting salary. You start off as $60,000, but you log in a shit ton of overtime. Doesn't end there. 27 paid vacation days after 6 years of service, unlimited sick leave with full pay, selection of medical benefit packages, prescription, dental, and vision coverage, annuity fund, deferred compensation plan, a 401k, and IRA, optional retirement at 1/2 salary after 22 years of service, annual $12,000 variable supplement fund upon retirement, excellent promotional opportunities. The department offers promotional exams periodically for the ranks of sergeant, lieutenant, and captain. Promotion to detective, as well as all ranks above captain, are based upon merit. Each of these ranks afford members the opportunity to earn significantly higher salaries. Now, there's a reason for why they get the most social democratic, fattest compensation packages. It's because they have profoundly strong unions that I would not want to call unions if we're being fully real, because their job is not to actually increase value for the capital earners. Even though their class position technically is a worker, they are wage salaried workers. Their jobs are to squash the other workers when push comes to shove. That is why Marxists will say police are class traitors. So my father's a sheriff deputy, makes $130K after. They get paid a shit ton after taxes. Oh, before I forget, of course, let me run the 3-minute. Oh, I did. I already ran it. Okay, good. All right. I did not forget. So, having said all of this, is the theoretical job of policing. I'm not talking about policing in practice. I'm talking about the theoretical job of policing. Is it a difficult one? Absolutely. Okay. It is a very difficult job to do enforcement of the law. Is it entirely their fault that they're bad? No, it is completely outside of their control in many instances. I will say that as well, because their job is to enforce the law. If the law is unjustifiable and unjust, and in many instances it truly is unjust, then yes, they are going to do unjust law enforcement, okay? Loitering, jaywalking. Jaywalking is a great example of this, literally created specifically to basically criminalize being a pedestrian and forcing us to live and exist inside of a car-reliant infrastructure. The idea that it's like illegal to cross the fucking street and it's technically your fault if you get hit by a car is insane. And yet it is very sane, and it happens, and it's literally here. We live in that planet. If you enforce that law, you are participating in enforcing an unjustifiable law. Same with loitering, as a matter of fact, or anti-homelessness measures, anti-poor measures, evicting a fucking mother out of a house, evicting a pregnant mother out of a house that she is squatting in is in normal circumstances, if you just remove the context of capitalism and private property ownership and parasitic landlording, you all of a sudden go, what the fuck? That's an insane thing to do. That's crazy. Why would you ever do that? That's wild. You should arrest the fucking guy who's literally, removing the supply of housing, a necessary resource for survival, from the market. That's what we should be doing in a just system. But of course, we don't think about that because we all exist under a capitalist dogma. But I'm pointing to that because I want to tug at your heartstrings, because everybody understands usually that, like, removing a pregnant mom from a home is an unjustifiable act of violence, but cops are supposed to do that, even if they don't want to do it. That's their job. This is why people say ACAB, all cops are bad. It's not that they are bad people, even though some of them certainly are. They are bad when they are wearing the badge, because when they're wearing the badge, they are supposed to do bad things because that's what their job is supposed to be. So that's policing in practice. Policing in theory, on the other hand, is supposed to protect and serve the interests of the public. That is why I say there is a need for a system of enforcement and a way to make sure that we do have regular laws. What the fuck are you talking about? Jaywalking? It's so you don't walk into the street and get hit by a car? Think about that. I promise you're going to understand. Please think about it. Jaywalking is not the same as seatbelt laws. The right-of-way should always be given to pedestrians. That is the reality, but unfortunately, we, especially in our car-reliant infrastructure, we do not do that. We need 4 roads. You just can't. We need 4 roads. You can't just walk into a street. No, I'm not saying I'm anti-road, okay? Also, jaywalking does not occur on the highway system. Nobody's jaywalking over the highway. We're talking intersections inside of cities where there are literal fucking laws that are supposed to ensure the safety of pedestrians in general. Once you actually criminalize, here, let's dive into it. Let's dive into the history of jaywalking so that people understand the forgotten history of how automakers invented the crime of jaywalking. 100 years ago, if you were a pedestrian, crossing the street was simple. You walked across it. Today, if there's traffic in the area and you want to follow the law, you need to find a crosswalk, and if there's a traffic light, you need to wait for it to change the green. Fail to do so, and you're committing a crime. Jaywalking. In some cities, Los Angeles, for instance, police ticket tens of thousands of pedestrians annually for jaywalking, with fines up to $250. To most people, this seems part of the basic nature of roads, because once something is completely legalized, then you understand that is expected, right? You're like, what the fuck? Of course it's going to be that way. To most people, however, this seems part of the basic nature of roads, like we said, but it's actually the result of an aggressive, forgotten 1920s campaign by auto groups and manufacturers that redefined who owned the city's streets. This, in and of itself, comes across like a totally reasonable, preventative safety measure, a mechanism created by local governments in an effort to ensure that citizens can cohabitate public spaces alongside cars at a time when cars were becoming ever more popular, right? However, the reality is that this is a sea change, an attitude shift, where now the cities in the 1920s, their roads were supposed to belong to the cars rather than the people. This is precisely the reason why when you hear, and I'll tie this back to cops in a second right now, actually, when you hear a cop actually fucking kill a pedestrian, like that one guy who is a serial mass murderer of civilians in, what was it? Idaho? Fort Wayne? He always gets away with it. 1, because he's a fucking cop, and 2, because civilians do not have the right of way. Pedestrians do not have the right of way. That is a deliberate mechanism. Or is it Indiana? Yeah. That is by design. This is how we wrote those laws. In the early days of the automobile, it was the driver's job to avoid you, not your job to avoid them, Peter Norton says, a historian at University of Virginia and the author of Fighting Traffic, The Dawn of the Motor Age in the American City. But under the new model, streets became a place for cars, and as a pedestrian, it's your fault if you get hit. One of the keys to this shift was the creation of the crime jaywalking. It's strange to imagine now, but prior to the 1920s, cities' streets looked dramatically different than they do today. They were considered to be a public place, a place for pedestrians, pushcart vendors, horse-drawn vehicles, streetcars, and children at play. Pedestrians were walking in the streets anywhere they wanted, whether they wanted, usually without looking, or whenever they wanted, usually without looking. Norton says during the 1910s, there were few crosswalks painted on the street, and they were generally ignored by pedestrians. As cars began to spread widely through the 1920s, the consequence of this was predictable: death. Over the first few decades of the century, the number of people killed by cars skyrocketed. Those killed were mostly pedestrians, not drivers, and they were disproportionately the elderly and children who had previously free rein to play in the streets. The public response to these deaths, by and large, was outrage. Automobiles were often seen as frivolous playthings, akin to the way we think of yachts today. They were often called pleasure cars, and on the streets they were considered violent intruders. Now, if you were to say, Hassan, what is your suggestion? To destroy cars? To no longer allow vehicles, the internal combustion engine and vehicles and its mass availability has been a major boon in American industrial production, American commerce existing. To that I say, yes, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. I'm not saying fuck cars. I'm not one of those fuck car urbanists, okay? I'm not. However, in order to strike a delicate balance between pedestrian and car, in order to develop less car-reliant infrastructure, we must move away from the mentality that cars are an absolute necessity, an absolute must, and that they are always in the right and pedestrians are always in the wrong. Okay? You're a different kind of fuck cars. Yeah. Cities erected prominent memorials for children killed in traffic accidents, and newspapers cover traffic deaths in detail, usually blaming drivers. They also publish cartoons demonizing cars, often associating them with the Grim Reaper. However, anti-car activists sought to slow down the deaths. In 1920, Illustrated World wrote, every car should be equipped with a device that could hold the speed down to whatever number of miles stipulated for the city in which its owner lived. The turning point came in 1923, says Norton, when 42,000 Cincinnati residents signed a petition for a ballot initiative that would require all cars to have a governor limiting them to 25 miles per hour. Local auto dealers were terrified and sprang into action, sending letters to every car owner in the city, taking out advertisements against the measure. Do not help build a Chinese wall around Cincinnati. Let's make it unanimous and vote no, which I personally love, because they're doing fuck China sentiment even back then. It's fucking dope. Okay? The measure failed. It also galvanized auto groups nationwide, showing them that if they weren't proactive, the potential for automobile sales could be minimized. In response, automakers, dealers, and enthusiast groups worked to legally redefine the street so that pedestrians rather than cars would be restricted. So, Kansas City passed the first ordinance requiring them to cross streets at crosswalks, but in the mid-20s, auto groups took the campaign with vigor, passing laws all over the country. Most notably, auto industry groups took control of a series of meetings convened by Herbert Hoover, the Secretary of Commerce at the time, to create a model traffic law that could be used by cities across the country. Due to their influence, the product of those meetings, the 1928 Model Municipal Traffic Ordinance, was largely based off traffic law in Los Angeles, which has enacted strict pedestrian controls in 1925. Los Angeles did not only suffer from being the leader in the field for jaywalking laws, criminalizing walking on the street, which, you know, in prior formations was the norm, but also the evisceration of alternative modes of transport, like the trams that they used to utilize in California, Los Angeles. So there's that as well. So, yes, you look to the roads. If you no longer see streetcar tracks on the roads, that is because they have been paved over. Yeah, the strategy also explains the name was given on crossing foot illegally on foot. Jaywalking during this era, Jay meant something like rube or hick, a person from the sticks who didn't know how to behave in a city. So pro-auto groups promoted the use of word jaywalker as someone who didn't know how to walk in a city, threatening public safety. At first, the term was seen as offensive, even shocking. Pedestrians fired back, calling dangerous driving jay driving. But jaywalking caught on and eventually became one word. It almost feels like if you are on the side of Capitol, you can collectively organize to utilize the state and its enforcement mechanisms to your advantage, and then ultimately create laws that end up inevitably becoming so norm that you cannot imagine a world outside of it. If only That is how capitalist dogma has operated. If only there was some way to analyze the situation, you know? If only. Anyway, eighth Ross Tempest. Thank you for the 10 gifted subs. And for those who say this is a terrible take, the deaths directly correlate to increasing speeds and popularity of cars. This history of it is secondary. This is a terrible take. No sane person wants to drive on a road where someone can walk in front of you at any time. Azan. So you think it should be legal to walk into traffic on legal roads? I think cars inside a city should be severely restricted. I think cars should be severely restricted in general. I think that public transit should be the primary mode of transportation. This would literally open up the roads for more commerce. It would make it easier for people to get to places. It would genuinely take a major cost off of people's daily existence. There should be severe restrictions, especially inside of cities. I'm not alone in this. Jaywalking as a law does not exist in many European countries, and some of those European countries, including Spain, for example, or even Amsterdam, have created entire city blocks where no cars are allowed. This has been a good thing. This has been positive, okay? When you can use more areas of the city, including the streets, okay, commerce thrives. It doesn't actually change the freedom of transportation or the freedom of travel. It simply makes things better. It's also better for reducing carbon emissions. I also think that having public transit as the primary mechanism for transport inside of cities would be good for mixed income collaboration. I think that it would make it better. All of a sudden, even the wealthy people living inside of cities have the same exact interest in fixing public transit. You know, that sort of thing. But of course, I cannot even envision a future like that. But yeah, that's the brief history of jaywalking. Of course, we have laws for high-speed roads, but we are allowed to make the assessment if it's safe to cross ourselves. Anyway, the small aspect, too, would make our city government pay more attention to its people. Yes, any kind of socialization initiative actually forces the government's hand to operate in a way that cares more about the entire population, not just the select few that are their corporate benefactors. This is one of the additional benefits of having socialized medicine. Countries with socialized medicine cannot have rampant corruption in their food safety measures and allow whatever kind of shit that people are eating to continue being served, because they have a vested interest in ensuring, they have a vested interest in lowering the cost of healthcare in general. This yields more pro-people policies as well. All of this is, of course, linked to one another, all the way from cars and jaywalking to more walkable cities that actually make your lives better, make you healthier, and everything else, really. We got here from climate change. We got here from talking about policing, but of course, under capitalism, everything is linked to one another. It's just a different. We should just start talking about a different way to exist. That would be nice. Getting back to, jaywalking is now decriminalized in California as of this year. Thank you, Fango Lives. But how could you make this argument to people that believe that 15-minute cities are actually a burden and a major conspiracy? At this point, it seems like capital owners do not even need to push people in a certain direction or to try and manipulate them. We do enough of that to ourselves for $0, as a matter of fact. We do it all the time. So let's get back to crime, though. Last week, Target announced that it was closing 9 stores due to theft, generating an avalanche of credulous coverage from nearly every major media outlet. One thing was missing from all these stories: data. So Popular Information tracked it down. These were all the Target. These were all of the articles. Target says it will close 9 stores in major cities, citing violence and theft. Target to close stores in San Francisco and other cities, citing theft. Target to close 9 New York City West Coast stores to stop losses from rising theft. Now, when you look at all of these places, you realize that these are, one, heavily urbanized areas. They are dense, and therefore, real estate is very expensive. Okay? Now, could that be a major reason as to why they're closing stores in certain areas? Could it be oversaturation, considering that there is usually a Target and across from a Walgreens, across from a CVS in the same exact fucking neighborhood. Which, of course, ironically, originally used to be local shop owners that were priced out of the marketplace in said neighborhoods, for the record. Something to consider, something to remember. These used to be areas where there was a local shop owner, a small business owner that engaged in commerce that everybody else in the neighborhood knew, and then big budget retailers came in and completely priced them out of the marketplace and took over, and they squeezed as many profits as they possibly could, only to close up shop. If you recall, this happened in Appalachia with the Walmart that we saw, that Peter Santinello talked to some of the residents about. Walmart does this all the time in the South. Target does it, and Walgreens and Target and CVS do it in heavily high-density areas, which happen to usually be blue cities. So Target is closing the store at 517 East 117th Street in Harlem. But according to NYPD data, there were fewer incidents of shoplifting this year at the Harlem store than other nearby stores that will remain open. So that's number one. Target is also closing its location on Folsom Street in San Francisco. But according to SFPD, San Francisco Department of Police data, there were fewer incidents of shoplifting in and around that store than other nearby stores that will remain open. Okay? The Seattle Times did a similar analysis of stores in the Seattle area and found that there were fewer police incidents in and around the two stores being closed than other nearby stores that will remain open. Okay? All of this data suggests that there were other reasons beyond shoplifting driving Target's decision to close stores. In June, Target CEO said it was saddled with lots of unwanted merchandise that it was forced to deeply discount, cutting profits. So, are there other factors at play here? Absolutely. Meanwhile, Dollar General is opening like 5 new locations within a 10-mile radius wherever you are. Reality is that people are becoming poorer, okay? They're becoming poorer. They do not have enough money to afford the same kinds of groceries that they were previously purchasing. Of course, there are other reasons, but the police data are only reported cases. Yes, that's a really good perspective to have. Except you have to understand, by design, if you are working at Target in an effort to ensure that you get your insurance payout, every single time there is theft, you have to report to the police. They won't do their jobs, but that doesn't change the reality that these police reports are valid. The notion that police are not doing any kind of real enforcement when theft is happening is an entirely separate subject. If you are working at this retail store, you still have to report it to the police, so those police numbers are accurate. Do you understand? The idea that no one reports crimes to the police is, first of all, a silly idea. You are just facing data. You're staring down the barrel of the gun of data, and you're going, well, this doesn't correspond to my implicit biases, my personal biases, so there has to be some other secret third thing that is causing this information to not match what I believe is happening. So normally, you're supposed to re-examine that. Okay? Normally, you're supposed to re-examine that. What you're supposed to do is exercise critical thinking. This is a muscle that all of you have. Some of you don't use it. Some of you just want me to fucking spoon feed you data. This also exists on the left as well as the right. Okay? So, the thing you have to understand is police reports, okay, does not mean arrests. Police reports have to happen if you are at Target. If you are at CVS and you are the clerk or the manager of the store, you have to report the theft. Because if you don't report that theft, how the fuck is Target Corporate going to write that off as a part of its shrink? Okay? They have to. There are insurance payouts for shrink. Do you think that the entire multi-billion-dollar insurance industry does not demand adequate police reports for every single instance of crime that has occurred in any particular target? Of course not. That is precisely the reason why those police reports cannot be hand-waved away, and you cannot claim that these guys are simply not calling up the cops and at least filing a report specifically for insurance purposes. That does not mean that cops go in and stop people from stealing, baby formula or whatever the fuck. But those numbers are not incorrect. They cannot be incorrect. Understand? Now, depending on their accounting setup, you can compute shrink based off of what is/not sold in inventory, perpetual inventory system. My friend, I am not talking about computing shrink. You are misunderstanding what I'm saying. I'm not talking about computing shrink. I'm talking specifically about insurance payouts. In order for insurance payouts to happen, what does the insurance company want to do? You have all experienced this in your healthcare. You've all experienced this in traffic accidents. Your insurance provider does not want to pay everything, all of the costs when you get into a traffic accident. So when you do get into a traffic accident, in order to file a claim, you need a claim number. In order to be able to do that, you have to talk to the police and file a report. Okay? Do you get it? Because insurance companies have a vested interest in not making these payments to you. That is their entire job. That is how they make profit. Okay? Insurance is not the main variable here. There's a multitude of accounting reasons for not reporting at all. My point was internal shoplifting numbers are probably higher for a multitude of reasons. Of course, police are involved for a majority. What? Internal numbers could be higher was my point. No, internal shrink and external shrink is factored in. Obviously, we talked about it. Internal shrink is 26%. External shrink, at least this past year, was 36%. Anyway. Also, if there was systemic underreporting of crimes, which does not exist, and I think I did a decent enough job to explain to you why it does not exist by giving you the vested interest that insurance companies have in giving the lowest amount of payouts for shrink as possible. If there was systemic underreporting, it would exist everywhere in that same region. This data looks at the same region. So it would literally have to exist all around that same region, and yet these stores, in comparison to other stores in that same exact area, even if there was underreporting happening, it would happen for all, show that there is less theft happening in those stores that are closing down than their neighbors. Do you understand? If you don't know much about Target's LPA and reporting or much about Target in general, just listen. Used to work at Target, and they absolutely report every little thing. Their LPA is super hawkish. Oh, you're not talking to me. You're talking to chatters. Because it's very clear you don't know what you're saying. Or are you talking about... Are you talking about me or are you talking about the chatters? Because I'm saying they are hawkish on loss prevention and report everything because I didn't have to work at Target to comprehend this because I know that, they have to get insurance payouts. So, loss prevention at Target when I was there is very hawkish, yeah. Dude, they have undercover officers, dude. What are we talking about? Target literally, it's so funny because... Sometimes we'll watch a video from Target and you got some conservative pedophile being like, oh, children are being homified here at Target. And then some fucking jack dude will come over and he's in plain clothes and you're like, what the fuck's going on? And immediately you recognize oh no, that's an undercover loss prevention officer. Okay. There's also one other part that I must mention in this process, which is, I have the data, right? You don't. If we're having a conversation about this and you have a very passionate position, when I am giving you actual data and showing you what that data means, you can't turn around and try to find ways to poke hole in that data, okay? If you don't have any data and you simply are relying on anecdotes, okay? This is very important for people to understand because if you're that passionate about something, you should have at least done the work to figure out what is fucking going on. That's why it's always this, okay? Target in San Francisco slammed by 10 thefts a day, employees say. It's literally this. It's this all the time. It's just simply an anecdote. We look at Target's internal information, their loss prevention structure, what the material reasons for insurance payouts are, the way that they are, and how they're stringent about like ensuring that all of that report, all of the crime, or at least all the theft that's happening in particular stores are actually reported. We look at comparative numbers to all the other stores in the area that haven't closed down, and yet people still go, well, what about this one store that got hit 10 times? They're not reporting it. They're not reporting it. They're not reporting it. There's 10 thefts a day. They're not reporting it. They are reporting it. They have to report it. Okay? Reporting it and people not being arrested for it are two entirely different things. The real reasons why stores close down is not theft. Okay? It's not. It's profit. It's profit margins. Theft, in the way that it happens, while it's not great, okay, is not the significant reason for stores closing. The major reason for why stores close is their profit margins are too slim. Now, are you going to tell me that theft is slimming the profit margins? Absolutely not. Okay? Theft is not capable of slimming the and narrowing the profit margins in comparison to other factors in consideration, like the price of real estate, commercial real estate, like other additional profit extraction mechanisms being placed in targets, or an oversaturated marketplace with like 11 different fucking options of the same exact thing. This is precisely the reason why Target is blaming shoplifting for closing the Harlem store but opening 5 additional stores. Okay? Part of the reason why Target and Walgreens, despite the fact that they openly admit in their financial reporting or even to the media later down the line, maybe a year later down the line after they've engaged in that kind of layoffs, mass layoffs or store closures, the reason why they say crime is the reason why we're closing is because they want to massage the narrative. If they were to say we are unprofitable in this region and that's why we're closing the stores, that requires further examination. They do not want their stocks to plummet. So they use oftentimes a very racialized, propagandized talking point that the mainstream media comfortably creates for them, because they also have a material interest in defending the interests of capital and also, creating a more robust and more violent police force. Part of the reason for why everybody wants that, at least on the capital ownership side, is because they too recognize the contradictions. They too see what you see and feel. Things are getting a little bit worse year over year. There are too many stressors with ultimately zero solutions. We keep literally doing the same things over and over again, even if it doesn't work. And it's not just draconian measures as a deterrence measure to stop crime from happening, which, like I said in the beginning of this conversation, is demonstrably a failure in the United States of America, where we have the highest prisoner per capita population, where we house or shackle 25% of the entire planet's prisoner population, despite making up only 4% of the entire planet's overall population. The land of the free, they say. Anyway, why would a self-identified progressive in media literacy believe this propaganda? Just a hypothetical person, no one specific. The impact of seeing something like that and the real fears that you experience, the absolute shattering of your own idea of personal security going away in a moment's notice is very powerful, chatter. Not everyone is going to be like, these are my principles, okay? Principles go out the window. That's why they always say, even every atheist is on its fucking knees praying to God in their final moment, okay? There is no principled stance in that moment. You fucking see someone break into your car, or you have children and you see the machete-wielding homeless lady and you fucking lose your mind. You don't think about that. Yeah, ain't no atheist in a foxhole. Exactly. You see that and you go, that's fucked up. Someone needs to fix that. What's going on? And if there's enough of the propaganda machine telling you that the real reason for this is because crime is out of control and, gay DAs are stopping you from enforcing these crimes and the cops are telling you on the ground that that is exactly what's going on, then yeah. Why wouldn't you believe that? I pray to science. What do you mean? Yeah. All the atheists in a foxhole are praying and saying, oh, my science, I hope I don't die. Yes. That's why if you want to know what these companies are doing wrong, the best thing to do is look to the market coverage, okay? Because they, by law, can't completely lie to their shareholders, okay? That is not something they can do. They can lie to the media and say, oh, it's because of crime. But when they're revealing information to their shareholders, they have to reveal the actual truth. They can lie to the public. They can't lie to their shareholders, which is why they end up revealing a much different reality. And people who engage in this kind of analysis will openly reveal that reality to you. In the same breath that they say crime is on the rise, and that's the reason why they're fucking closing these stores too. Amazon is dominating e-commerce. Amazon is part of the reason. Same-day delivery, Amazon purchasing grocery stores has absolutely become a major player that is destroying these retail chains. Okay? They originally did this thing to local shops, and now they're experiencing the same thing that they did by Amazon, a larger player, which is kind of hilarious. This is also known as consolidation of corporate power. Okay? Yes, the ironic death spiral of capitalism. The big fish eats the little fish. You might have a locally owned grocery store operated by someone in the neighborhood. You no longer can operate in that neighborhood when Target comes and says, well, we're going to sell everything for much cheaper than you because we are a national brand. Now you're priced out. Everyone's going to the Target instead of your store. A couple years down the line, because real estate is always going up, you no longer have a business. You are forced to close your business. Maybe it becomes significantly better for you to just sell the commercial real estate instead. All of a sudden, the only grocery stores that are providing the neighborhood with commerce and food is Target and CVS. But then there's an even larger fish in the pond. That fish is called Amazon. They come in and they say, oh, guess what, dude? You don't even need to go to a grocery store anymore. We bought Whole Foods. We have Amazon Fresh, which also operates outside of Whole Foods. We bought Bristol Farms. We are now going to use our fleet and our delivery system to completely eviscerate brick and mortar grocery stores in general. Okay? We are going to destroy your pharmacies. Now, the big guy in the room has killed the other big guys in the room. Think about that. How is Amazon a monopoly legally? It is not. It is not a legal monopoly. There is no such circumstance. Technically, it does not abide by the law. But the law, or what is legal and what is illegal, is more so a matter of who is motivated enough to go up against a giant like Amazon. Now, however, Lena Khan over at the FTC is actually doing something about it. There is currently an active, ongoing antitrust lawsuit that was launched against Amazon only a week ago. So, maybe there is some hope. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Might be surprised, but I was under the impression that Target was growing because they're opening 3 new locations in my area. But I can't move my legs. I work directly in a lot of the stuff that lawsuit addresses. It's unfortunately hitting a lot of the wrong points. Doubt it gets anywhere. We'll see. All right. I hope you guys understand that. I hope that was a little bit better of an explanation. Okay? It was really upsetting for you to calmly explain all of that only to get shut down with literal hysteria. Yes. There's not really much you can do about that, though, is there? All we have at the end of the day are our convictions. Okay? All you have. And in a lot of instances, it does not matter if you are on the side of truth. It does not matter if you are on the side of justice. What matters is people's perception of you. Okay? That's it. And if there is a prevailing narrative, sometimes it doesn't matter if you are truthful and honest. Anecdotes are powerful. Or logical fallacies, for the record. That's why people do them. Steve Scalise, Jim Jordan, running for House Speaker after Kevin McCarthy's ouster. Let's get into it. Never Kevers rise up.
Race for Speaker of the House. Kevin McCarthy, of course, has ruled out another run after being ousted earlier this week. But there are contenders. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise of Louisiana and Congressman Jim Jordan of Ohio have said, yep, they're into it. Nothing can be done until somebody is picked. This has to be decided. Nicole Killian is on Capitol Hill once again for us, where there is always a lot of uncertainty, but especially a lot today, and nothing's getting done. Nicole, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you, Tony. House Republicans are aiming to hold a speaker vote by the middle of next week, but they have a lot to resolve before then, and those vying for the gavel are busy trying to shore up support.
How are you feeling this morning?
Right.
With Kevin McCarthy out as Speaker, 2 of his leading allies hope to be in. Majority Leader Steve Scalise, who's undergoing cancer treatment, and House
Wait, why is this pussy wearing a mask? I'm confused. I'm sorry. You're really telling me we're going to fucking get a mask-wearing guy? We're really going to have a mask wearer in the fucking, as the Speaker of the House? I speak for all patriots when I say absolutely not. Okay? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, is he undergoing cancer treatment? It's called being a fucking patriot. Have you read about that in a book? What kind of cancer does he have? From getting too many vaccines? Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. Pack it up. We're going with Jim Jordan.
Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan declared their candidacies Wednesday and made the rounds with members.
This is really important that we...
Yeah, get out of here with that fucking face diaper, dude. Get the fuck out of here. Why is he wearing a mask? Someone needs to explain something to me. Why is he wearing a mask? Masks don't work. Everybody knows that. Why is he wearing a fucking mask? I hate it. Chad, I know it's cancer. Stop saying cancer. Oh my God, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm being fucking sarcastic. I know it's fucking cancer. I'm making a point about how fucking dumb Republicans are. Hello, hello, hello. Just like there's no atheist in a fucking foxhole, there is no not mask wearing when you have fucking ass cancer, okay? Jesus Christ. Fuck.
get this right.
My politics are entirely consistent with where conservatives and Republicans are across the country.
Another potential contender, Oklahoma's Kevin Hern.
How do you unite the conference?
Well, you listen first and you see what the issues are.
The next Republican replacement needs 218 votes, but finding them could be a challenge in a party.
Yeah, Chatters be like permanent revolution against jokes. Exactly. That's my only leftist trait. Is like, I don't even care about fucking the means of production analyzing the current material conditions and like trying to create a socialist organization off of that. I only care about making sure that no jokes are heard, okay? I am a joyless person and I fucking can't comprehend jokes and I don't want anyone else to comprehend jokes. Fuck you. That's it. I'm here for the fucking I'm here for the no joke revolution.
Still at odds after McCarthy's ouster.
Morally unfit.
Some members want to kick Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz out of the GOP conference for leading the effort to force the former speaker out and fundraise off of it.
These texts were coming through during the attempt to vacate the speaker's race, using government actions and trying to raise money off of it, which I think should be illegal. I think it's disgusting and some of the swampiest behavior you can have.
The chair declares the House in recess.
Paralyzed by politics.
There are atheists in foxholes. You literally talked about atheists being used in his death for U.S. military propaganda. Oh my God, I'm going to lose my mind. 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 I don't care. Atheists, okay? Stop. Atheists, shut the fuck up. Nobody fucking cares, okay? No matter how hard you try to fucking act like you are being seriously and significantly harmed, no one even fucking knows you're an atheist unless you open your stupid fucking mouth and constantly scream and be the most annoying person that has ever existed. You are not being oppressed. Please stop. Please stop. Stop acting like you are being oppressed. Fuck, man. Oh my God. The veganism of religion. Like, I swear to God, dude.
Politics, the House is unable to conduct.
I can't believe like a brief thing that I mentioned about like there's no atheists in foxholes like turned into like this severe of a thing. Like this is the battle I will fight, dude. As an agnostic, I thought agnostics were the ones everyone hated. No, nobody gives a shit about agnostics. They're like oftentimes very chill. People don't even care about atheists either. They just care about anti-theists who can't shut the fuck up and have to proselytize in the other direction. Oh, my science Andy's over here. Oh my God, stop.
Conduct business with another government shutdown deadline looming next month. U.S. aid to Ukraine is also hanging in the balance, and President Biden is set to deliver a major speech on the Russian invasion.
More than anything, we need to change the poisonous atmosphere in Washington.
President Biden is asking for more than $20 billion in military and humanitarian aid for Ukraine, which was left out of that recent short-term spending package. Meantime, two top Democrats, former Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, were both evicted from their offices at the Capitol. The order was reportedly given by ex-Speaker McCarthy. Pelosi called the move a sharp departure from tradition. Nate?
Nicole, thank you.
Let's bring in our next guest. He's just launched a bid to be the next Speaker of the House.
Hell yeah. Jim Jordan addressed the possibility of Trump becoming House Speaker, baby. Jim Jordan himself probably will become the Speaker if it's not Steve Scalise. So, I am 100% in support of that, by the way. I do think Trump should be. Trump files the dumbest fucking motion to dismiss J6. Note SCOTUS case, U.S. versus Nixon, which holds that presidential immunity doesn't apply to criminal conspiracy cases. Okay, yeah, that's boring.
The job opened up.
Let's talk about Trump becoming Speaker.
He's now with the exclusive interview with Congressman Jim Jordan. Congressman, great to see you. You were on the fence the night of the ouster. What changed your mind to say, I want to be Speaker?
You need someone who can unite the conference, and I think just as importantly, unite the conservative and Republican movement across this country. That's what I think I can do. That's why I'm running for the job. I like the job I had. Chairman of the Judiciary Committee, chairman of the Select Committee on the Weaponization of Government, doing the work there. But I do think we have to have someone who can bring our team together. I think I'm best equipped to do that. The 8 people who voted in a way that I disagreed with, we got to bring them into the fold. I think I'm best equipped to do that so that we can then go do the things we told the American people we would do for them. And the first thing I would focus on, the very first thing I would focus on is one sentence: no money can be used to process or release into this country any new migrants. You have to change the equation. You have to stop what's going on there in Texas and across our country. That is the first bill we should do. Attach that to a spending bill and get that done for the America. And everyone knows this is the central issue. Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, is in Latin America as we speak because this problem is so big. We need to address that. We need to get the Democrats on board to do what their constituents want them to do as well.
You shouldn't be penalized for the good job that you did on judiciary, because people, Americans, the Republicans love to see what you're doing to go after the Biden family and get to the bottom of what they have done with their taxes, if they've done anything wrong, if it was pay for play and all of that kind of thing. But if you do leave, if you become speaker and you have to leave judiciary, what will happen to that committee now? Will those investigations still continue?
They sure will. We've been working with the Speaker's office all along. Many times you have to consult House counsel when you're doing all these depositions, all these subpoenas that get sent out. So we've had that already happen. If, in fact, I get the privilege of being the next Speaker of the House, we will continue to work with the team on judiciary and oversight and ways and means as we do our investigative work, as we do our constitutional duty of oversight of the executive branch. That will continue. In fact, I was in a deposition 2 days ago with the U.S. Attorney from the District of Columbia, Matthew Graves, who declined to partner with David Weiss. I was in that deposition when all this was happening here.
He'd be the worst person in the world as speaker. Excuse me, Trump would be the best person in the world as speaker. Way better than Jim Jordan, who fucking should never speak, really. Sorry, excuse me. Big fan of Donald Trump as speaker. I'm launching my super PAC that will specifically appoint Donald Trump to the speakership position. Love it.
In the House. So, yes, that has to continue because that's our job.
You know, Mr. Jordan, that moderates have said, they've been very vocal, they will not vote for anybody unless they change that rule on one vote can get somebody vacated from the seat, which is essentially how the Capitol coup happened the other day. So moderates want to change the rules, but for conservatives, that is a deal breaker. So, and there is, I was reading this morning in Axios, I believe, there is expectations are at rock bottom that the civil war between the many factions of the Republican Party can be fixed by next week.
Well, we have to fix it. And I said this on the House floor on January 3rd when I nominated Speaker McCarthy. I said it a couple days ago. Any differences that exist in the Republican Party pale in comparison to the differences between us and the radical left, which now unfortunately controls the Democrat Party. We had better stick together. We had better come together to fight for the things that make our country the greatest nation ever and the things the American people elected us to do. Again, I think I can do that if the conference wants that rule changed. If I'm Speaker, I'm not going to go to Democrats to get that done. No way. We will have to decide as 222 Republicans, are we going to change that? That's the only way it gets done if that's what the conference wants. So that's something that has to, again, you have to bring the team together. That's what we have to focus on so that we can help the American people and do what we said we were going to do.
Lawrence?
Yeah. Congressman, I'm here with the folks from the great state of Texas. They want to know if you guys are going to start fighting for them. Like, the unity is okay, but at what cost? Are you guys going to start doing the things that y'all said y'all are going to balance budgets, getting this crime under control, the inflation that's wrecking them, and of course, the border has hit Texas so much. So what is the plan to get the caucus in line with the conservative agenda that all of you guys ran on?
You take the case to the American people. You tell the American people, we've passed so many good, we've already sent over the border security immigration enforcement legislation. You go to the American people and you say, tell the United States Senate to take up that legislation. Now, they might amend it. They might make changes to it. Then it comes back. You go to conference committee.
I want people to understand something, okay? The conservative movement has not had an agenda for a very long time, okay? Partially because they won. And now they're just kind of throwing darts at a dartboard and throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks. They have become the wedge issue party. They become the culture warrior party, specifically because they get all of their actual material interests completely passed with bipartisan support. And if that is the case, then and both parties are going to push for deregulation in different ways, maybe some more marginal than others, right? And if there's going to be tax cuts for the wealthy from both ends of the political spectrum, but one side is pushing for more stringent protocols on like fucking harming migrants and taking away civil liberties, making sure that like black people can't ever vote. And the other side is simply saying, that sucks, actually. Let's not do that. Then, yeah, people are inevitably going to be like, oh, this shit again, dude. I don't give a fuck about like the 8 trans 14-year-olds that want to like attend a swim meet in the entire fucking state. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. Like, shut the fuck up. Food is too expensive. Shut up. Housing is too expensive. College is too expensive. Car payments are too expensive. Gas is too expensive. Shut the fuck up about trans people. Shut the fuck up is what people who are otherwise Republicans will say. Okay? That's it. That's the reality. Unchanging, like the top of the hour ad break. Or the price you need to pay to avoid the top of the hour ad break, which is $5. Or free, as a matter of fact, as long as you subscribe with a Twitch Prime. You can also get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Here's a 3-minute ad break now. I think that was smooth. Anyone that says no is a hater and a liar and a cheat. Here's the 3-minute ad break now.
Committee, and then you have a final package that you vote on. That's how our system works. But we got to take the case to the American people so they put the pressure on the United States Senate to do their job and get past the things that we need to get past. And in divided government, we're not going to get everything, but we have to go fight for what we want so we get most of what we want or part of what we want. But right now, we're not getting any of that because they won't take up the legislation. They won't do their job. So that's how our system works. The greatest system ever. It's cumbersome, but it's the best. Let's use the system that we have, our government system, our legislative system, to get those things done. We've already sent it there. Take up the bill, Chuck Schumer. Deal with the legislation, send it back to us, and we'll figure out the differences and get something done for the American people.
So Thomas Massie, Darrell Issa, Mike Carey have all said they're going to support you right off the bat. So why are you better than somebody I know you like, Steve Scalise, who seems to be the next in line?
You're right. Steve Scalise is a friend of mine. It's Kevin and Steve and I. We all came in the same Congress. Steve's an American hero. But again, I think I'm better equipped to unite the conference, bring the conservatives along that I'm close to.
Wait, why is he an American hero? Because he got shot? Is that what he's trying to say? At the congressional baseball field? Is that what it is? I suspect that's why he's saying that, right? Why is Brian kill myself trying to run Congress, Lamont? Now that there's a power vacuum at Fox News, everybody wants to be the new Tucker.
With the moderates, I've had great conversations with the moderates. Jeff Van Drew. Jeff Van Drew is supporting me. Jeff Van Drew was a Democrat 5 years ago. Switched parties, now a great member of our conference. He's supporting me. I think we can do that. That's what we have to do so that we can get to the real goal, which is those things we told the American people we were.
If I'm Matt Gaetz, I'm trying to desperately put Jim Jordan as the new speaker because, and there's only one reason for it. Maybe some of you already know this, but he's very good at refusing to prosecute sex crimes that are happening under his watch. He is notorious at turning a blind eye to sex crimes that are occurring under his watchful eye. So it's in his nature. In his nature to do so. So if I'm Matt Gaetz, I'm going for the guy who's pro-sex crimes, okay? Just saying.
We're going to do for them.
You know, we've watched Joe Biden. He came out of Afghanistan and told everyone that was a success. Then with the border, he says it's not a crisis. It's secure. The border's not open. And now they're saying we have to build a wall. They ran on never building a wall. We will not build a wall. And this morning, you have his team. Mayorkas is saying there's an acute and immediate need to construct physical barriers and roads to prevent unlawful entries. Why change his tune now?
Because Democrats are telling him, because the problem is so severe, the problem is so serious, they're now doing the right thing. They're now doing what President Trump said we should have been doing all along, what we were doing. So that's how bad this situation is. And again, if we can pass the legislation that I think fundamentally changes the equation, when we say you cannot use American tax dollars to allow any more migrants to come and you stop the problem, and then you deal with what's happened already, that's how you fix things. And so that's what we need to do.
Well, let's talk a little bit about aid for Ukraine, because there are a number of conservatives who say in your conference that they will sink any candidate for speaker who does support aid for Ukraine. So where are you on that?
I've been clear all along. Why should we be sending American tax dollars to Ukraine when we don't even know what the goal is? No one can tell me what the objective is. Is it some kind of negotiated peace? Is it driving them out of the eastern Ukraine? Is it driving them out of Crimea, which they've had for 10 years now, or they took during the Obama administration? What is the objective? And so until you can tell me the goal, I don't think we should continue to send money there, particularly when we have the problems we have on our border. So that's fundamental. I just think that's front and center. And then second, how is the money that's already been sent, how has it been spent? Right. What kind of waste is going? Those are two fundamental questions that I think the American taxpayers want to know the answers to before they send any more of their hard-earned money there. Particularly, you're sending money there to protect Ukraine's border when we got the situation we have on our border. So those are the fundamental questions that we should get answered before we even think about sending more money.
Lawrence?
So, Congressman, the last two times I remember talking to you before, you said you didn't want the job. You didn't want it. Many people tried to get you to run for the speaker's post. So why now? Why is it the moment for Jim Jordan to lead the conference?
Because somebody has to bring our team together. Because if we don't come together, we're not going to get done what the American people know needs to be done, what's good for our nation. Somebody has to do it.
There's nothing funnier to me. There is nothing funnier to me than like any of these dudes saying, oh, we're just going to not give money to Ukraine. Like, brother, money to Ukraine is going there whether you legitimately have an interest in not sending any money there or not, okay? It's going. It's already written off, brother. It's not, because it's not going directly to Ukraine. It's also going to Ukraine through subsidiaries that are the most important ones to the American manufacturing industry, okay? It's like, it's our industrial output. This is what we care about. Get the fuck out of here, dude. So that's number one. Number two, I do find it pretty funny seeing people on Twitter be like, Matt Gaetz is actually more of an anti-imperialist than Bernie Sanders. And I'm like, you are the stupidest person. You have somehow, like, if there's like a stupid tier, okay? If there's a stupid tier out there, you know how I talked about, like, obviously Republicans are pretty stupid in general, but then, like, somehow the ones that are, like, pro-Russia now are even stupider than the other Republicans because, like, they already were geared to hate Russia from the jump with, like, a century of Red Scare propaganda. But now, at the fucking, turn of a hat, by participating in, like, 3 Telegram groups, they just decided, like, actually, no, Russia is good. Like, you're just somehow dumber. There's the third tier. The guy who consistently looks at Republicans who say that they're war hawks. I can't even get it out of my fucking mouth. Republicans who say they are peaceful doves, okay, and believes them and takes it at face value. Okay? If you think Matt Gaetz, who has actually tweeted about bombing Sinaloa, okay, if you think that guy is in any way, shape, or fucking form anti-war, you are a dumbass. You are literally the biggest dumbass. You are dumber than the other guys. You're dumber than the guy who says, yeah, I used to think Russia was communist, but now I believe that they actually are saving the Western world from degenerate perverts and Nazis, as a matter of fact. That's why I'm pushing Z, brother. Like, you are dumber than that guy. Okay? God damn.
I think I'm equipped to do it. That's why I'm running. I think I'm equipped to go take the message to the American people about what we're doing.
It kind of seems like Russia is the good guy in the story between Ukraine and Russia. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Please stop saying that, okay? Not like that is the most insane thing ever, dude. No, it's not. Russia is the America in the situation, okay? If we are analyzing the situation without America's actual active role in the conflict, Russia is the America in the situation. Now, a lot of you are geared to think that's a positive thing, right? Oh, what? Russia's America in this situation? What the fuck do you mean? I'm like, no, I'm using that as a negative. They invaded another country, okay, for no good fucking reason. They lied and said they're doing it because they want to denazify the country. They said they were doing it to rid Ukraine of NATO influence, to rid Ukraine of being in the Western sphere of influence, which now it's made permanent. Ukraine will be in the Western sphere of influence, and NATO is more powerful than it ever was before. Always remember that modern Russia is run by the guy we put in power. They're not commies anymore, lol. Of course not. They are not dissimilar to the United States. They're like three companies in a trench coat. That's a stupid way of putting things. To your uncle's point, you push potential support with such rhetoric. What rhetoric? That I said that if you thought Russia was communist until last year, and then a couple Telegram groups told you that Russia is actually defending Western civilization, and you turned on a dime, you're like not very smart. That rhetoric is pushing away like your QAnon uncle that's pushing Z right now. Oh no. How will I be able to win over your QAnon uncle pushing Z? He's gone, brother. He's gone. Okay? He's for the streets. But this time I don't mean like he's going to be sexually promiscuous. He's getting fucked by Russians anyway, okay? He's for the streets. Your uncle went from being a QAnon uncle to a Xenon uncle, dude. It's done. It's over. It's so Jover. It's never been more Jover. Okay? Like, people always say, Son, your entire political framework is America bad, America bad. It's like, no, Russia's bad too. Most states are bad. There's plenty of bad that China does too. You know? Most states do bad things. What's important is, do they learn from the bad things that they've done?
Is so darn important. It's really, those are the two fundamental questions. Who can unite the team, and who can go take our message to the people? That's what this election's about, and I hope my colleagues will support me. And that's what I'm asking and talking to them with all day long. So much so I'm already starting to lose my voice.
All right, so Congressman, let me ask you a scenario. You're trying to get these you become Speaker next week. The appropriations bills aren't done. The deadline is here. Do you do a deal to keep the government open for an additional CR?
Oh, yeah, no. When I said Matt Gaetz said he wants to bomb Sinaloa, I wasn't kidding. Like, he did say that. Like, that's our peaceful dove chat. If it were up to me, I would take every Ukrainian person living in eastern territories that are currently being shelled into fucking oblivion and immediately ship them to the United States of America, offer them shelter, offer them a warm meal, offer them a home, offer them a paying job, and then take every fucking Redditor that fantasizes about continuing the war and ship their ass to some fucking town that they cannot pronounce to defend Ukrainian territory on their behalf. Take all the liberals and ship them out there. You think waging war is cool and fun and great? You're dismantling the Russian military with only 5% of our military budget without a single American service member dying? How about you go there? Go. Do a swap. I'm going to arm you with Javelin missiles, and I'm going to send Elizabeth Warren, Lindsey Graham, and every fucking Redditor out there to defend Ukrainian borders instead. Okay? I'm going to take all the Ukrainians out of Ukraine and give them a job, shelter, a home, whatever the fuck they need, a means of survival, a life of dignity and respect. 90-day Ukrainian fiance, baby. Not a Reddit account, though. No, just swap them. I think they're much, they will serve this population much better. They will be wonderful allies. I'm happy with that. Let's do that instead. I have no issue with that. Then they can come back and have a newly found perspective on how continuation of war and tossing people into the war machine like they're goddamn gears and a cog and a machine is maybe a little callous. Our indifference is really frustrating. If we send all the Redditors there, then Ukraine is definitely going to lose. I thought that as well at first, but then I realized they're so fucking annoying that, like, I think the Russian conscripts would be like probably at first killing themselves and then like turning on their presiding officers, eventually pushing back into Moscow like Wagner style. You know what I mean? Like, think about it. They will annoy them so much. They will debate them to death that, like, they'll literally be like, no, there's no reason. We can't do this anymore. We're done. Hasanabi hates Reddit because he's the personification of all Reddit lefties. I don't even know what that means. Like, what are we talking about? Like, what's a Reddit lefty? I don't think you know what that means. I'm sure you have something to follow that up with. Yeah, it's bait. Okay, got it. Yeah, I'm a very Reddit lefty. You know, China is a red fash, that sort of thing. I saw a really funny video this morning. Hold on, where the fuck was it? God damn it, where? Hold on, I gotta sift through my likes here. I think I liked it. Oh, here.
I'm sad.
Look at this clip, dude.
I am sad to announce that the United States, bastion of communism, have decided that China is not socialist enough. In order to fix this, we will seek advice from the Western ultra-left, who neither understand our conditions nor have any experience in producing a successful revolution, except the one from 250 years ago where they broke away from Britain because they wanted more slaves and fewer taxes. I have hired as my new foreign policy advisor this white guy from Twitter who called me a red fash once.
Oh, I love this. This is perfect. It's like, no, this is great. Yeah. Why is it H. John Benjamin? I don't know. It does sound like H. John Benjamin, though. His English is impeccable. Yeah, he learned it. To be a better socialist, he learned English. To appeal to the real existing socialists on the planet, you know, Americans living in Iowa, he had to learn English and speak it with clarity. You know? That's real. This video is literally real. He did that. He did all of that. He learned English by watching American TV. Bob's Burgers, just like you. Yeah. You should say internet socialist in Iowa. No, that's the... Listen, man, I'm telling you, all the real existing revolutionary figures happen to live in the imperial core, okay? They happen to also align with America's and the Western world's extractionist policies at the global scale. But that's by design. That's because that's real existing socialism, okay? That's how that works. You're a silly Billy. Xi Jinping Iowa memoir. Oh my God. Old friends, the Xi Jinping Iowa story. In 1985, 5 young Chinese traveled to Iowa as an agricultural delegation. This trip forged bonds of friendship that brought one of them back to Iowa in 2012. That visitor was then the Vice President of the People's Republic of China, Xi Jinping. For 27 years, Xi Jinping held fond memories. Wait, isn't this what Biden talks about too? This is like the famous Biden story, right? Chat, is this the famous Biden story where he says like, or no, was that in China? Fuck, I think that might have been in China where he talks about like how him and Xi were hanging out on trains and stuff. No, that was I think that was Biden in China, yeah. Old friends, the Xi Jinping Iowa story illustrates the personal journeys of Iowans and the Chinese. Iowans and Chinese? As they first traveled to each other's countries from 1979 through 2015. Sarah Land has been a catalyst in building people-to-people relationships between these two countries. Because of her involvement in both visits, she was asked by the 1985 visitors to tell this story. This is the greatest thing I've ever heard in my entire... Oh, my God. Bro, this is so fired. That's crazy. That's fucking nuts, dude. Corn and socialism go deep. Soviet Premier Khrushchev was a huge fan of corn, a crop with a capitalist productivity unparalleled in the Soviet Union. In 1959, during his visit to the U.S., he visited a farmer who was an expert on corn cultivation. Oh, brother. Oh, no. Yeah. Are you familiar with the Virgin Lands program in Kazakhstan? Khrushchev's obsession with American corn after that visit destroyed all the farmland and indirectly dried up the Aral Sea. Dude, corn. Okay. If you ban one type of crop permanently, I'm sorry. I want to apologize to the Midwest about what I'm about to say, but corn has been a devastating... I could write an industrial revolution and its consequences on corn alone, dude. Literally, this fucking crop has been so damaging to American development and even the USSR. What the fuck? Why? Wasn't it cotton for the Aral Sea? I mean, maybe. I think it was cotton too, but still, it's funnier to say that corn was the problem. Corn has been a massive player always, and I don't know why. As an Aztec descendant, I resent that. Why China's president loves Iowa. Bro, this is so good. Dude, Xi Jinping wants to maintain normal relations with America, not due to our complicated but very important trade relationship, but because he one day wants to go back to Iowa, dude. This is the funniest thing ever. True Maoist peasant uprising will start in Iowa. Oh, that's so good. The revolutionary spirit lives on in Iowa, brother. I'm telling you. First Tibet, then the annexation of Iowa. Yeah, the Iowa Maoists, the Iowan peasants are going to do a Maoist rebellion and get direct support from the newly formed People's Liberation Army in the United States of America, because America, specifically Iowa, okay, has a long and complicated history with China. Goes all the way back to the Qing dynasty. You don't get it. You will never understand it. Iowa's always been Maoist third worldist. We have a CCP-run museum in one of our tiny towns in Australia. Yeah, that makes infinite more sense for Australia, whose economy basically relies on China, even more than America's economy. So that makes a lot more sense. There's also like proximity there as well. Iowa is the funniest because it's so fucking far. Now you show some fucking respect. My opinion on Iowa went up by a lot. Now that I know, dear leader Xi, he loves Iowa. I love Iowa too in my heart.
Or do you do a deal with Democrats, or do you let the government shut down?
I think the first thing you do is you pass the bipartisan bill that's in the Senate. We take that bill up here in the House and we pass it. It's the No Shutdown Act. Senator Langford, Senator Hessen have that bill. It's good legislation. I like what Senator Langford said about it. He said, look, this is like if you don't get your work done in school, you stay after class and get it done. That bill says if we get to the end of the fiscal year, we haven't done the appropriations bills, the government stays funded, but we stay here round the clock until we do our job. That would take this whole shutdown politics, shutdown scenario, shutdown stuff off the table. You do that, and then you focus on the legislation. And frankly, if we need some kind of continuing resolution or some stopgap measure, I think it should go all the way into next year. I told my colleagues this because the way the debt ceiling deal was done, if you do a spending bill into the next year, there's an automatic cut that kicks in. And that's an incentive for us to get our work done and focus on the policies we want on the 12 appropriation bills. That's the strategy.
Oops.
In my mind, the only strategy that makes sense, and that funding bill that goes into next year, everyone's voted for that. The Senate, 2/3 of the Senate voted for that, 2/3 of the House voted for that. Joe Biden signed it. So that's something everyone supported. If we do that and have that 1% cut hanging over everyone's head, I think that's the incentive to get our work done, get our job done, and let the system work the way it's supposed to.
Just quick follow-up. I can't believe you would accept the job without that one vote margin to vacate. It's suicidal. I mean, he had 210 votes supporting him, and now he's out of a job.
That's so funny.
It's impossible to keep 218 people happy all the time.
There is nothing more hilarious than Fox News, once they're done with shitting on Matt Gaetz, shitting on Kevin McCarthy. Man, it's been such a good week, dude. Such a bad week for the Republicans, and such a good week for me.
Damn, this guy's good.